This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Kindness. We see it all around us. We see it when someone pays for someone else's coffee or holds the door open for another person. We see it in the smallest of gestures, like a smile or a kind word. But it's different when we turn on the news or social media. Oftentimes, what we hear about, what outlets are pushing, is the opposite of kind. Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast. Our goal is to give you a place to relax, to revel in stories of people who have received or given kindness, a place to inspire and motivate each and every one of us to practice kindness every day. Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. You are listening to the Kindness Matters podcast, and I am your host, Mike Rathbun. We've got a great show for you. As you noticed at the beginning of the show, this podcast is a member of the Deluxe Edition network of podcasts, and every month they have a podcast of the month. For August, that podcast is Horsing Around. Hosts Joel Sharp with producer Jared Picone lead the boys from Red Horse Hair Studio, Shane Anthony, Cisco Colazzo, Sean Boyle, and Joe Capilupo, through their nonsensical banter from the cutting room floor and deliver it in this hilarious no-holds-barred podcast. From conspiracies and monsters to ghosts and surreal true life, your squishy brain will be filled with so much of the awesome. Also, make sure to check out the show notes where you will find links and discount codes for two companies I partnered with, Sunday Scaries, a company that makes broad-spectrum CBD gummies, and Coffee Bros, that make an amazing blend of coffees and coffee products. I use both of these, and they are nothing short of amazing. And now, let's get into the show. Hey, hello, and welcome everybody to the show. Oh, God, you guys, you're going to love this. You're absolutely going to love this. My guest today is an author, an entrepreneur, a former high school educator, a dancer, a fur mom, which tells you everything you need to know about how amazing she is right there, and now a book and writing coach. After having to leave a 12-year career of teaching because of her mental health, she took her teaching and coaching skills and her 15 years of experience teaching others how to write and began her company, Soul Script Coaching, where she gets to help people heal, write their memoir, and share their story. Welcome to the show, Jamie Gartner.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. I'm really happy to be here. Very excited.
You couldn't be any happier than I am to have you here. And because, I mean, this is your first podcast ever, right?
Yeah. I'm really excited. I've never done this before. I'm new to this whole aspect of media communication, and it's exciting.
You know what? It's so cool. I decided to start a podcast in 2020 because I had some time on my hand. And I went, I always wanted to be a radio DJ. This is kind of the same thing, except without the great music. So,
I bet you always had some great music in there.
There's a little thing called copyright law that prevents me from adding the really good music.
That's true. Although I'll tell you about a place I can show you that has good legalities that will help you find some good music.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's a way to get through everything nowadays.
Oh, man.
Make your dreams happen.
I did try looking because for a while I wanted my theme song to be the Kiki D song. It's from the 70s, before your time. I got the music in me. Ain't got no worries in my life. Because I wanted that. And that was obviously unavailable to me without an outlay of some big cash. So I was looking for like a karaoke version, but I couldn't find one.
Well, you could make one.
That's how I tried to get around it.
That's pretty cool, though.
But enough about me and my show. Let's talk about Jamie, because you are way more interesting than anything I could talk about. So you started off you graduated high school, you went to college, and was it a teaching degree you got?
Yeah. I got my bachelor's in English, and then with a kind of basically a dual concentration with secondary education.
Okay. And you took that brand new shiny diploma and you went to work as a teacher.
Hmm. Yep, I got my first job actually at a school my brother told me I wasn't allowed to work at, but I fell in love with the place, and it was amazing people, amazing kids, and just a whole new world of experience, which is the beauty of teaching. So much fun.
Sure, because I mean, you probably learn as much as the kids do, right?
Oh, beyond. I mean, I was homeschooled growing up for most of my childhood academic career, and so I was in a whole new world. And we kind of lived in the country, and population 200, and then I go and I teach in a city school where we have 90% diversity, 98% free and reduced lunch. 13th poorest zip code in the country, 400 students, refugees from around the world that didn't speak any English.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
and they were just a wealth of knowledge and experience and life and love and stories that they were incredible.
How cool. And so did you teach English as a second language or sorry, go
No,
ahead.
no, I'm not that cool. I can barely manage English. Uh,
So cool.
no.
Please.
I taught English as language arts. So I taught the artistic approach to using the language. So that is kind of what stemmed my way into the field I'm in now. Because I spent so many years teaching kids how to write, teaching them how to edit, how to analyze, how to do all the things. And that was always my passion, is books and writing and
Sure.
reading and all the good stuff.
Oh, wow. And then you did that for 12 years, was it?
Yeah, about 12 years. I did that, and then for a few of the years, I was an instructional coach. So I was trained as a cognitive coach to work with teachers to help them in the classroom make their lessons and curriculum and units more engaging, more efficient, to get our scores up, all of those things.
Wow. I often wondered about that because as a teacher, it's kind of like being an adult where you have to figure out what to serve for dinner every single night for the rest of your life.
That's
And I, the teachers like go into here's another day. How am I going to make this interesting? But you help them do that.
Yeah. I mean, they're already trained to do that. They know the basics. Certain content areas, they have very set curriculums. But I was able to help them shift, because your teaching has to change with the kids in front of you. And if you are just always teaching the same way, same content, same style, you end up losing the kids. We know, it's all of us. We all have 5-second attention spans nowadays, and
Yeah.
which is not always a bad thing. So
Right.
it's a new age for many educators who've been in the game for a while. And the best educators are the ones that know that you've always got to keep adapting and changing and learning and moving with the kids. So where it used to be
Oh,
you
for sure.
stand in front of a classroom and just tell them the information, now the approach is that the kids should be doing most of the talking. They should be,
Interesting.
yeah, they should be engaging in that conversation, or they're lost.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I got in trouble a lot for talking in class. So I'm just
Yeah.
that's new.
Yeah. And now it's like, nope. As long as you're talking on topic, at least semi so. Although the kids
That
have
could have
this,
been the problem.
yeah, they have this great talent about getting. At least for me, they always were just so great at getting me off topic. And we just go start talking about random things. But
Yeah, my ADHD probably didn't help with that. Ooh, squirrel.
yes, yeah, same.
Wow. But then after 12 years, you were kind of like, I can't do this anymore.
Um,
And yours, that's probably not an uncommon story right there these days.
It's not, especially nowadays. This was in 2018, so it was before the pandemic and where a lot of things changed. Though I did go back actually to teach for a year that was the year we went into COVID,
Oh, God.
which was craziness. So, yeah, I mean, it does, especially when you're teaching at a school where 98% of the population has trauma up here. I'm showing you my hand,
I
above my
see it. Yep.
head. Radio, right? And it does take a lot out of you. And then you add in administration, and laws and accountability, just everything that weighs down on you. It becomes a lot, and it's very easy to burn out, especially English teachers, because yeah, I mean, I know every other teacher on here who listens and is a different kind of teacher. They're going to disagree with me, but
You're
English,
going to go, hey, wait a minute.
I was reading hundreds of papers, and it would take me 25 minutes to go through each paper, and
Oof.
then you get the lesson planning and all of that, and then you have to reread the paper again, and it's a lot of grading when you're an English teacher. It's a lot
Yeah.
outside of school that nobody really realizes and recognizes.
What was your average class size? I'm just curious.
Mm. Generally generally I'd start the year at 30 on the roster.
Oof.
There were a lot of classes that would start with 40, 42. But that was different than the kids who actually came and showed up.
The number on the roster was different than the ones who actually showed up.
Yeah, and you still had to
Okay.
prepare, and sometimes that made it harder because you would have a certain number of kids and the certain kids on one days and other kids on the other days, and it's like, so you still have all those kids that you're responsible for, and you're responsible to check in and all of that.
Sure.
But in the classroom at any one moment was usually closer from 17 to 22, 23, which is still
Okay.
really big, especially when you have a lot of high needs kids.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I keep hearing about the sizes of the classes these days, and it's just crazy. I saw
Best
somebody
thing
the
you
other
can do.
day, a friend on Facebook, who's a teacher, and she was saying she's got like 40 kids. I'm like, oh my God, how how do you even? I mean, just teaching aside, how do you control that number of kids? Really,
It's
for 45 minutes or what have you.
yeah, it's hard. It's really hard, and it's
It's
hard
really
on
hard.
the teachers, and it's not fair to the kids. The best thing you can do is for classrooms, and they'll argue with you. They'll say data doesn't support it, but it's the quantitative data that matters.
Yeah,
Right, the qualitative data that matters,
I
and
knew what you meant.
yeah. Um, and smaller class sizes where you can give that one-on-one attention because the kids deserve it, and more mental health professionals in the schools. Those are the two biggest and best differences you can make in the schools.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, and that's another thing we see a lot of today is governments slashing budgets, and it's always going to be the mental health
Mhm.
professional stuff to go, or yeah, something that's really, really needed these days. I did an episode with a gal, and she brings therapy dogs into schools, middle schools. Did I tell you this story already?
I don't think so.
Oh, anyway, but yeah, that's always her biggest. That's her big selling point is this doesn't cost you anything. I bring them in for free. All you have to do is give me access to, you know, the kids you think might need them,
Yeah,
and and they're nonprofit and it's great. It's called you're not alone. But anyway,
yeah,
that's
yeah. And
for another
hopefully,
episode.
hopefully, yeah, they toss them a few milk bones in there. But yeah, a lot of schools are starting to have therapy dogs right in the classrooms all the time, which is amazing. I love it. I think makes it does make a difference for a lot of
It makes a
kids.
huge difference. And I was surprised because she said, middle school specifically. I'm like, why middle school? Because that's when they start to get bullied.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So enough about all my other guests. More about Jamie, please. So you left teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you immediately fall into the coaching realm?
No, I actually didn't. So I actually didn't leave teaching because of the work itself. I left because I had dealt with depression for my whole life, and it had gotten really, really bad. My principal at the time was not helpful, and so I ended up going through a lot, and had to go to a mental health treatment center for some help to kind of get back on track, which that was actually even worse. The treatment center was actually very, very toxic.
Oh,
And
dear.
that's the topic of my memoir. My memoir is actually written to heal from that. So when I came back, I had essentially lost my job. They couldn't fire me, but were trying to push me to a middle school, which I was not adept at teaching. I was not mentally ready for, and that they did some other shady things, which doesn't matter right now. But
It's all in the book.
yes, exactly.
We'll link to
Actually,
it in the show notes.
yeah. And so I lost that. I lost friends. I had lost family. I lost a lot and had gone through a horrible experience at the treatment centers. And I knew I had to come up with something. So I got a part-time job at Barnes & Noble because, books.
Of course,
Surround yourself with
as
books.
one does,
And
as a bibliophile does.
Yeah. I got this amazing life coach, Jen Liddy. She was, because I couldn't find therapists at the time. Like finding a therapist that will take your insurance, that's accepting patients, it's so impossible. And so instead I went I found this woman who was a life coach somebody had recommended, and she was incredible. She helped me in so many ways just to baby step by baby step, literally move forward. And one of the things she encouraged me to do was write my memoir, which was just like I had to get it out of me. It
Sure.
was a story that was just cycling in my head, and I couldn't even breathe because I had to hold on to that story. It was just so much of me, and I had to get it out. So she encouraged and guided me in that process. And so I did that. And
hey, everybody, we will be right back with more of my chat with Jamie Gartner right after these brief messages from another Deluxe Edition Network podcast.
Are you a fan of all things nerdy? Do you love delving into the latest pop culture trends while also staying updated on the news of the day?
Hey there, fellow enthusiasts. Professor Aubrey here, and I'm thrilled to invite you to join us on Friends Talking Nerdy podcast, where we dive deep into all things geeky, from movies and TV shows to video games and comics.
That's right, folks. It's Tim the Nerd, your friendly neighborhood geek, ready to discuss the latest professional wrestling updates alongside our takes on tech innovations and the entertainment industry.
But that's not all. We also understand the importance of mental health, and we weave in thoughtful discussions on self-care and mindfulness.
So, if you want to geek out while also taking care of your well-being, tune in to Friends Talking Nerdy.
Friends Talking Nerdy, where pop culture meets mindfulness. Listen now on all major podcast platforms.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
then we started playing with some ideas of, okay, so what do I do next? Because I can't make a living off Barnes & Noble, much as I love them. And I thought about doing, life coaching, because it was very similar to what I did as a teacher, being there for the kids and
Sure.
helping guide them and helping them figure out their life path. And I really love life coaching because it's about moving forward, where therapy, it's about looking at your past and very important things, but different. Life
Right.
coaching is about moving you forward in life. And so that was where I started. And eventually that morphed into, you know what? I've spent my life teaching people how to write. I love to write. I love to read. I love to hear people's stories like you do on here, like I did with all my students. And I know how healing it is to write your memoir. And so that's where I fell into, hey, book coaching is a thing. How cool is that?
And I think it's so cool because you don't often hear about it, about book coaching or writing as a platform for healing.
Mm-hmm.
Until I met you, that was the first time I'd ever heard of that. And that it's such an intriguing idea, and it's so cool.
Yeah. And it's very real. It's very real. I mean, you think of even, I think we talked about this last time we talked, being an angsty teenager. What do? You write dark poetry, dark song lyrics, right? And that is healing. So we innately know this too, that the process of just putting pen to paper and letting the thoughts just flow out of you, it is cathartic. Writing letters, writing in your journal and diary, all of that, it's healing processes. Turning it into a memoir just means you get to help others heal through your experiences too.
Yeah, because, you read that and you go, hey, that's a lot like what I went through. And
Exactly. It's about giving yourself a voice, but also being a voice for others too.
Right. So what's the process? Walk me through the process. I'm like, I've got this trauma. I've got this stuff that I buried for years. I either don't have insurance for a therapist or I can't afford one. Hey, I heard about Jamie Gartner. She'll help me through this. What does the process look like?
Well, I would start by saying it's not a replacement for therapy or even, coaching. Well, I mean, I do coaching with you, but it's not a replacement for therapy or psychiatric help or anything like that. But it is a great element to also healing. So when somebody comes to me, they generally have an idea in their mind that, hey, I've got this story and I've been wanting to write it for years. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to put it together. And that's usually where most people are at. They feel that call. They feel that draw. They just don't know where to start. And so there's two aspects to my coaching of what I do. There's the healing aspect, where some people need a little more of, some people don't need quite as much of. And then there's the writing. So with the writing is we really start by defining the purpose or why we want to do this, because that is what's going to carry you through, and identifying and really having good clarity on why you're going to write this story is important.
Sure.
In a lot of different ways, because you want to know it not just for yourself, but who you're writing for, because we look at audience and what message we're sending. And sometimes people don't even want to write it to publish it, and that's great too. Some people just want to write it for themselves, just to get it out. Some people write it just for their family, which is a beautiful thing. That's another aspect that I always go back to, because my parents died when I was young, and I wish I had something, because I don't remember half the stories.
Yeah.
And that's a big missing piece. So I always say, writing a memoir is one of the best gifts you can give to your kids if you have them. So then we go into so once we have kind of the whys and the target audience and the messaging, all of that kind of figured out, then we do some outlining and brainstorming and bringing everything together. We look at styles and how you want to put the book together, because there's a billion different ways. The beauty of memoir is that you can write it in like any kind of way that you like. There's rules sort of, but they're almost all breakable or bendable. Which I love.
So when you first start working with somebody and you broach the subject of writing their memoir, do they ever go, but memoirs are for famous people and I'm not famous?
All the time, all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and that's usually the first thing anyone, even in a writing group, there's writing groups where other authors who are more fiction style writers, they're like, memoir, it never sells, never sells. Well, that's not true. And I mean, it is a little bit of a harder sale sometimes, but it's getting to be a much bigger genre and a very important one.
Sure.
You just don't always see memoir in the memoir section. So if you think of books like Brain on Fire, that was turned into a Netflix documentary, that's actually housed in the medical section, but it is a memoir. Girl
Oh,
Interrupted, which is kind of very similar to mine, the precursor to my memoir, that's in psychology. I'm sorry, and even ones like Don't Look Me in the Eye by John Elder Robison. John Elder Robison. He wrote about being autistic. So,
okay.
and all of those are in psychology. So, if you're looking in the memoir section, you're going to find a lot more of the celebrity books, but
Sure.
there are everyday people writing powerful memoirs that are helping people move forward in their life every day.
Of those three books you mentioned, I recognized one, Girl Interrupted.
Mhm.
What was the first one you mentioned?
Brain on Fire.
Brain on Fire.
Yeah, they actually made a Netflix documentary. It's about a woman. She's in her mid-20s, and she essentially went crazy for a month. Um, Crazy in the sense that she just completely lost control of her senses and um, had just a lot of mood swings and just like extreme things going on,
Oh my gosh.
seizures, all of that. And the doctors kept diagnosing it and saying, oh, well, she's just drinking all the time. She's an alcoholic and you just don't know it. And
Oh,
they were saying, oh, maybe she's schizophrenic, and all these misdiagnoses until somebody took the time to dig further because she had parents that were there to help. And they found out that she had a very severe but rare, so-called rare, issue with her brain. And don't ask me what it is because I couldn't tell
oh
you off the
wow.
top of my head. Something that you can't pronounce, right? And in writing this, so she finally got the help and the healing, and now she's back to normal. She's a journalist again. She's all of these things.
Oh wow.
And in telling her story, thousands of people finally got help for having the same condition, and they had been either written off by family, friends, or they had been put into psychiatric wards permanently because nobody knew that that was actually an issue with their brain.
Not
Not,
as rare as they thought, huh?
yeah, yeah, um,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah, and the
I'm looking
things
for a
that,
new Netflix stream, so that's Brain on Fire. I'll have to look that one up.
yeah, it's a fascinating documentary. And yeah, a lot of you'll find that a lot. People write their stories and they are the voice for the people who can't speak out. Women who've been through domestic violence, people who've suffered through addiction. Piece of Cake by Cupcake Brown, incredible memoir. The first couple of pages starts with her being like 4 years old, finding her mother's body on the ground, dead.
Oh my God, talk about trauma.
Right. And then she goes through and tells her whole story of addiction, and everything that goes along with it. And it goes just, and you're just entranced by this woman went through
Wow.
everything. And then she comes out at the end, and now she is a very successful, very incredible lawyer.
Oh wow.
She's,
Cool.
yeah, she's an incredible woman who's doing great things, helping people, and not. And so I'm giving you two examples. I do want to put this in there too. I'm giving you two examples of memoirs that are everyday people who have changed their lives, wrote their story, changed other people's lives through it, but they did have a
Yeah.
happy ending. And this is the other thing. A lot of people will come up to me and they'll say, so they'll say three things. They'll first ask about the celebrities, which not true. The second thing they say is, well, my story doesn't have a happy ending. And sometimes that's true. And it doesn't need a happy ending. And
No.
that's something we talk through a lot, is trying to find where maybe you do have some level of acceptance or growth forward, or even if you're still, like, even for me, I'm still, working through healing my mental health issues, because that's an everyday thing. That's for the rest of your life. Everybody has that.
Yep.
Things might not be perfect, but I've moved forward from where I was, and I'm exactly where I need to be, and that's exactly where they need to be, and this is part of those steps.
That's a great thing I like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please,
Nope.
please.
That's a great thing I like about coaching, because it's always about moving forward.
Yes.
And if you just take that one step, even if it's a baby step, and you're moving forward every day, you're going to be fine.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just one step. The book I'm working on now, I'm working on getting my memoir published right now, but I'm also starting my other book. And I kind of coined my own fashion of healing through life coaching, and it was identify, choose, challenge, change. And the first thing you have to do is identify what is my problem here. And then you have to really make that choice and choose, I am going to do this. I need to do this. I want to do this, because until you make that decision, nothing can change.
Nope. Yep. You're stuck until you make a decision to take the smallest of steps forward.
Yeah. And that is rarely ever an easy step. It's usually the hardest. And so is the one after that, and the one after that. But so worth it. And I know, and this very, very personally, like it can be hard. It is hard.
Yeah.
But every step forward is, in a sense, its own happy ending. So it's okay if your story isn't, I'm now a successul lawyer, helping people do all these things. I'm the next Aaron Brockovich. Right?
Driving a Maserati. No.
So there's a million different ways to end a book, end a memoir that will work for your readership. And that's authentic. And that's the biggest rule about memoir, is just being honest, raw, and authentic and real.
Absolutely. Perfect. I just love your story, Jamie. It's perfect. And this is why I can't write, because I don't know how to come up with adjectives.
Oh, absolutely. Nope. So that would probably be the fourth. I don't think I ever talked about the third thing. The fourth thing, people say, well, I can't write. No, everybody can write, because there are a million different styles of writing, and we always fix that in the revision stage.
You know what? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've written 3 books, and each one was shorter than the other. I just say what I want to say, and that's it. I don't, blah, blah, blah.
But that's a very valid style of writing that a lot of people appreciate. It just depends on your readership, on your audience, because some people are very flowery and use all the 25-cent words, and they have a readership that loves that, and they have a readership that is like, oh my God, just stop talking.
Yeah, but I think I was a lot like you, though. Is like, I have all these thoughts in my head, and I just need to get them out.
Yeah, it helps. It helps a lot in that movement forward, is just putting it down, sharing it.
I think my last KDP check was like $3.56. So, whatever.
Well, did you do any marketing with that?
No. I didn't have an editor. I didn't have a publisher. I just sent it from my computer over to Kindle. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Over to Kindle Direct Publishing, and went, okay. I think I posted about it a little bit on social media, and then because it was never about being successful as an author. Yeah. It was about getting these ideas out, and sending them out into the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
So it would do whatever it does with them,
and that's a beautiful reason. And you never know, maybe that one person that bought it and paid that royalty fee for you, your book might have changed their lives. You don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. It's kind of like this podcast. Somebody says, well, are you monetized? I said, it's not about monetization. It's about one person who needs to hear a positive message that Jamie has to give out. And being enlightened, or light bulb going off, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I understand that you have an offer for my listeners.
I do. If anybody is interested, if you ever, had that thought, hey, I think I have a good story. I think I have a story, or even if you're not sure, but you want to, because that's the third thing. Everybody's like, nobody wants to hear my story. They do. I guarantee you, there's somebody out there who not only wants to, but
needs to. Yes,
absolutely needs to hear your story. I don't care if it's been told 20 billion times before. They need your version. And so if you've ever thought that, I think in your show notes, it will be a link to my website, soulscriptcoaching.com. Soul as in, thing inside us, SOUL. And you can go to there. You can book a free discovery call, come chat with me about what your thoughts are for your book. And I would love to hear from you, because I'm always I'm blown away by my writers' stories. Like it's incredible. People are amazing. And so I'd love to chat with you. And then if you are interested in working with me, I have a 6-month program where I take you straight through the process, through getting a couple of your drafts written, getting you set up and on the way to getting published. And if you tell me that you heard me here and you heard me with Mike and you're listening to his amazing podcast, Spreading Kindness, just let me know. And you can get $300 off my 6-month program. And I'd love to work with you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, just for anybody who's still maybe on the fence on this, you could do a lot worse than spending 30 minutes talking to Jamie.
Yes,
it will be the best 30 minutes of your life.
Aw, you're sweet.
I'm just saying. Jamie, it was so awesome to have you on today. I thank you so much for the gift of your time.
Likewise.
I love what you're doing. I love the positive energy that you're putting out in the world.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. I appreciate your podcast and the mission that you have, because kindness is beautiful. Oh, can I mention one thing?
Absolutely.
So we're actually recording this. Can I say this? Recording this on August 12th. Tomorrow, this is kind of a plug for one of my amazing writers that I work with. She is writing her memoir. She came to me a few months ago, and we've been working really hard on her book. And it's a story of her son, being a mother to her son who had very severe ADHD, and he died 6 years ago. Age 15. So she lost her 15-year-old son.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And her memoir is about everything that went along with that. It's going to be amazing and powerful and heartbreaking and heart healing and all the things. And his birthday is actually tomorrow. He would have been 21 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And every year they send out these little cards. I'm showing you, but I know they can't see it. But it's for Andrew's Angels. And you can find their site. It's Andrew's Angels 813. And they ask that everybody do an act of kindness in his memory, because that is what he was all about. It's actually, honestly, how he died. He died trying to make people smile.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a whole other episode. But yeah, absolutely. We will put that one in the...
introducing her to you.
We will put that link in the show. That's going to be long show notes, but we'll do it. We'll put that in there too.
Beautiful.
And
so do an act of kindness today in honor of Andrew, and keep his memory in your hearts. And spread the kindness like you're doing every day, which I so appreciate. And I'm so honored to have had this time with you.
Thank you. We will be in touch. And again, all of your links will be in the show notes. Thanks for spending a half hour with me. It was the best half hour so far.
Yes.
And we will talk again.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Wow. How about that, Jamie Gartner, everybody? I cannot believe this was her first podcast. She's such an amazing speaker. I could sit and listen to her for hours. And what do you think about writing a book? If you've got something inside you and you just need the world to get it out, but you're not quite sure how to go about it, I've got the link in the show notes there for Jamie. Go to her website and seek her out. And maybe you too can write a book and help other people through your experiences. It's a great idea, and I absolutely love it. So, that will do it for another episode of the Kindness Matters podcast. We will be back next week, of course, with another episode. But in the meantime, I want you to be that person who roots for others, who tells a stranger they look amazing, and encourages others to believe in themselves and their dreams. Make sure to follow us on all your social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it be. And we will see you again in a week. You've been listening to the Kindness Matters podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rathman. Have a fantastic week.